Gist of my presentation is to perhaps in some ways instill some fear and it's some challenges for you folks, okay? So why home inspectors need to understand living in place, or some people call it aging in place, the market, because it's a really important market. It's growing. Unfortunately, it's growing fast, but that's what it is. So today's topics, they introduce what's living in place and why it is beyond aging in place. Market statistics and trends, it's always important to understand what those are all about so you can make good decisions as to what you want to try to do. Why this is currently a very important topic for inspectors. How you benefit from targeting this market. Why building codes don't really address this. What should be done to be able to make homes more accessible, healthier and safer environment. And then finally, why you should be considering doing services along this line. All right, I'm Louie Delaware. I live just outside of Boulder, Colorado. Really nice place to visit if you guys want to come out. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Go Badgers. Yay, oh, yep. On Wisconsin, there you go. All right. Newman Lumen. You went to school there?
Yeah, all three of my kids graduated.
All right, well, my daughter's fourth generation. I also have an MBA from the University of Colorado, Denver. I've done many speeches across the country. As a matter of speaking, there's an article about what this is all about next month's New York Times. I don't know exactly when, but I spent about 2 hours with an editor, which is a lot longer than I ever anticipated spending with an editor. So hopefully they're going to cover a lot of stuff. The first part of my career was involved in doing R&D on medical devices and analytical devices. Many of the medical devices would end up really changing how people recovered or what ended up happening for them. For example, one device uses argon gas over electrosurgery. If you're familiar with electrosurgery, it's high voltage RF signals to be able to cauterize or close off vessels. Using the argon gas, it ionizes readily, so it kind of like creates a nice long lightning strike. And it allows you to be able to paint the surface because you can see what's going on. So somebody who's got a really tragic accident with regards to anything that's highly vascularized, like spleen, kidneys, liver, uterine surfaces, doctors were able to spray paint that, if you will, to be able to get good coagulation of the tissue. I did what every good mechanical engineer usually does over their career. I got out of doing R&D because it was just this constant grind. It's really hard to do that sort of stuff. And so I got into doing construction. So I became a Class B general contractor, and then started doing kitchen and bathroom models, basement finishes. But then I started seeing that there was, in Colorado where I'm at, a untapped market for doing professional childproofing. Yes, there are actually a number of people who do professional childproofing across the country. It was really quite rewarding because we go in, do assessments, and then come back to do the installations, and the parents just loved what we did because they had no idea what they needed to do, how it should be done without destroying their home. I moved into doing radon testing because it's kind of like I'm there, I'm doing radon testing for them, and then did radon mitigation as well. And then moved into doing home modifications for seniors and the like. And over the life, I was doing that for about 15 years. I figured I was about 3,800 homes in that period of time. I can't say I've seen everything, but I've certainly seen a lot of bad design, some good design along the way. I'm also affiliated with the National Kitchen and Bath Association. So I'm one of their national speakers to go across the country to their various chapters. Also on the Kitchen and Bath Business Magazine's editorial advisory board. And I'm the founder of the Living in Place Institute, which has been around for about 11 years now. These two pictures, important people in my life. Unfortunately, all three of them have passed away. The gentleman on the left is my mom's father, my grandfather. He flew in World War II, or one rather. You can see the old planes. He was flying those old biplanes back in World War I. Back then, they had no idea what might end up happening with people who were flying next to very noisy items. So he had some real hearing challenges. I lived with him for the first 2 years when I was going to school in Madison because he needed some help at the house, and it was free rent. So it was nice for me, and wonderful man. He was very cognitively right on top of things until his death. But I lived with him. He had done some unique modifications back in the 70s, one of which was he had taken his smoke alarms and wired them to be able to create what you see now for people who are hard of hearing. They have like little discs under their pillow to be able to let them know, along with strobe. Well, he did those things way ahead of manufacturers did that. He also had doorbell and phone ringers that would wake me if I was in this nice slumber. I lived on the second floor, and trust me, I was like, if you ever saw like the cartoons where the cat's going straight to the ceiling and holding onto it, that's what it was like for me. The picture on the right are my parents. My dad made it to 98, but the last 3 years of his life, he should have been in independent living. He was a member of that one club that nobody ever wants to be part of.
Excuse me.
No problem. The Frequent Flyer Club, okay? And it's got to a point where the firefighters got to know him by name. And the only way I would ever find out is like I was on their first point of contact as the medical power of attorney. And it's like, oh yeah, Louie, your dad's fallen again. He's going off to the hospital. But one of the things, my parents lived in a house that was built over 100 years ago now, and he was relegated to being on the first floor. There was a bathroom on the first floor, full bathroom, that was literally 4 feet by 5 feet. Think of how small that is for somebody who's using a walker to be able to get in and out. No items as regards to assist bars. And I know what my dad's going through trying to use a toilet. He was holding on to those old glass doorknobs that the screws may not hold all that well. And then he's holding on to an old faucet handle to get on and off the toilet. I had this vision of either he's going to pull himself up and the knob's going to give and he's going to fall back in the toilet, or he's going to shear off the top of the faucet, and now we're going to have this waterfall coming into the room, this big fountain. So my mom didn't want to have any modifications to the home. I did what every good son would do, a daughter. I installed actually 2 grab bars onto the door frame. And my mom was really upset with me. She was like, I'm going to take you out of the will, this sort of thing. About a month later, she calls me. It's like, well, first off, my dad was just like so taken aback by this that he's a Spaniard, proud Spaniard. He cried when that was put in. It's like, somebody recognizes that I needed these devices to be able to get on and off easily. Well, about a month later, talking with my mom, it's like, those grab bars, they're really nice. It's like, my mom ended up, after my dad passed away, she moved out to Colorado. She had her own set of problems with regards to cognitive capability. It's like you could have, anybody here have a parent or relative who has had cognitive challenges, Alzheimer's? You know the circumstance of either it's asking the same question, bang, 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 over and over again. Are you the only one that got blue eyes in the family? Because she had blue eyes also. Or it's the Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde sort of thing. That, all of a sudden she can be really pleasant and then turn to be like, how come you took my credit cards and checking books away from me? But nonetheless, it has given me the perspective directly as to what some people go through on a day-to-day basis in regards to these 3 individuals, along with many of the people that I've come in contact with doing Living in Place. Just kind of a point of reference, about 3.5 years ago, there was a big wildfire in Colorado. It's called the Marshall Wildfire. That's what it looked like on the left the day after the fire. On the right, that's our former house. So you will see a number of photos in here because after the fire, I got a chance to be able to practice what I teach about what you should be doing in homes to be able to make them, as I mentioned before, accessible, healthy, and safe. So what is living in place? To me, it is all ages, whether it's, child's in the crib, and they're now able to be mobile, to every good party has to come to an end. It's like, okay, but it encompasses all those ages because people can have an incident, whether it's a temporary accident or permanent accident or medical condition that changes their life very quickly. One example I'll give is my son used to do, well, he still does, but he used to compete in extreme skiing, being in Colorado, great place to do that. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be extreme skiers. Because my wife could never fathom watching him do what he was doing on skis. His buddy, one of his posse guys, they still go skiing together. He wasn't really radical what he was skiing on, but he broke his pelvis. Okay, here's this 17-year-old, 180-pound kid, and how do we get this child to the second floor, where there's a bathroom that has a shower, or can he use a shower, or there's a bed up there, or. So nonetheless, he still skis extreme skiing. My buddy's my son's buddy, but nonetheless, that's just one of those sort of things that can happen in an instant. So I'll keep mentioning accessible, healthy, safe, and secure. That's really what's really important for most everybody. And then what this does, if it's done the way the client wants, it creates beautiful, functional, and connected homes. And I use the word connected two different ways. There's the smart technology aspect, which a lot of people are starting to go towards now. But then there's the other connection, that meaning me to you or others, and I can engage with people who are coming to my house to be able to be involved with them, involved in the kitchen, be able to be part of that relationship. And to me, that's a really important thing. Why it's not aging in place? Again, as I mentioned earlier, it addresses the needs for everyone, not just older adults. Okay? The term aging, who wants to hear my mom? I know if I ever told my mom, it's like, I'm here to help you age in place, and my mom would say, the door's there, I don't care if it's going to hit you on the way out. Okay? Nobody wants to be reminded that there is a finite time frame, and that's what aging is all about. And aging in some ways is like getting into your lazy boy seat and never getting out of it. So aging also means less capable. You have more challenges, and for some people, it's a real turnoff of having that perspective of aging. And so living in place, a better connotation. It helps people understand that that's evoking ability, vitality, and longevity. And that's what I think all of us want to hear about. All right, you've all heard about universal design. Nice concept, okay? And these are the various factors that they look at. Equitable use, meaning everybody can use it. Flexibility in use, it can be used a wide variety of different ways. Simple, intuitive, it's like you give something to somebody else and it's like, I know how to use this. Perceptible information, like when you push on like a touch panel, you feel like that touch feel, whether like on your phone you have the haptic sensing. A tolerance for error, like, unfortunately I don't see any light switches in here, but the difference between using a Decora switch versus a standard toggle switch, somebody who has, seen anybody who's got really bad essential tremors or Parkinson's where their hands are going like this all the time? With a toggle switch, what ends up happening is a frustrating event. They go like this to the switch and they're turning it on and off, on and off. Whereas with a Decora switch, they just go pound and it's turned on. So that's that tolerance for error. They don't have to worry about it. Low physical effort, okay, obviously, and then size and space and approach appropriate for use, okay? And I'll talk more about size and space in a little bit. Taking a picture of this? Bye. I'll wait for you. Perceptions of universal design. Most people don't think universal design is really being tailored towards what they want. Okay, one of the biggest issues is nobody wants their home to look like the rehab setting or the hospital that they just came out of. Stainless steel, stark, not that attractive. And there are some issues in regards to using universal design products. I show this right here. Anybody ever have a chance to try to use a left-handed corkscrew as a right-handed person? I mean, 10% of the population are left-handed people. There are indeed left-handed corkscrews. It's easier for people to do this sort of thing, I'm right-handed, than to do this. It's harder for them to do that. And so when you're given standard scissors or a standard corkscrew to somebody who's left-handed, it's like, this doesn't work for me. I'm just like, why? Oh, wait. So either the rabbit type where you go push down, push up, or the ones that use pressure to push the cork out, or the electrical ones. Those are all great. But again, there are things that just don't work for everybody. So we're going to look at a wide variety of statistics. As I mentioned, statistics is a real good reason to understand why you may want to move into a certain market, where things are happening. The problem right now is injury rates for individuals are not going down. In many ways, they're going up. Just because, yes, there's more people, but I'm talking about the rate, not the actual incidents that are occurring. So recently, until about 3 years ago, baby boomers were the largest individual named demographic. But now they're second to millennials because age of the millennials, the baby boomers, and some dying off. But there are more people who are 65 and older than children, which is kind of a scary topic because what's happening is you're blaming longevity and you're also having a much lower birth rate. Now, I don't necessarily want to go too far in the birth rate thing, but when you have lower birth rate, it cascades all the way through the economics all through life because there's less pediatricians, there's less diapers, there's less bicycles, there's less clothing, . So the share of old age population of the total against the total population, right now we're about just shy of 20% of the people are over 65. So other stats here. Anybody have older parents that are basically saying, I don't want to move? Okay, that's a common thing. You see here, 85% of them have no plans to want to move. Okay? And homeownership among the baby boomers is at 78%. Okay? That's 33 million individual properties where these people don't want to move. They own it. All they're having to do is pay insurance and taxes on the place plus routine maintenance. Okay? People aged 55 to 74 made up 23% of our population right now, compared to only 16% about 40 years ago. By 2040, there's going to be 80 million people. Okay? This is a big market for people like you that I'll talk about a little bit more. This also includes the group of silent generation boomers and then the newcomers from Generation X. As of 2020, millennials, I mentioned that just a little while ago. The other thing is that over 75% of people over 50, not just 65, want to stay in their home as long as they possibly can. But here's the green graph is really what's quite interesting here. You look at that, this is going out for another 35 years. But the fastest growing population in the United States are people age 85 and older. And we all know they don't have quite the same capability. Although my mom, when she was 94, said she was just as spry as she was a teenager. I kind of doubted that, but you kind of go with the flow on those sort of things. This is kind of a scary statistic because there are some people who want to get into assisted living because they may be living no family members nearby them. But the down below, the kind of light brownish color, that's available beds. The gray ones are what's the market demand. And you see by another 5 years, that market demand way outstrips the number of beds available. And then you also have the other problem of staffing for these places because in the past they weren't paying some of their staff members all that well. But that's a huge difference between what's available and what's the supply is or not. So many people say they know they have safety and accessibility issues inside and out. The quintessential line, my home is a death trap. Okay, I heard that quite often when I was doing childproofing because the parents like, I can't keep up with little Jill. She's like, just bouncing all over the place. She's like water on a hot skillet. But this is also the case. These people also recognize that their places are just not safe. And I'm using these kind of funny photos. You guys in home inspection see these all the time as to, oh my God, why did they do that sort of thing? Okay, like that rug there that goes, the runner that goes down. I mean, to me, that's just like, oh my gosh, there's too much going on there. I'm going to get vertigo just looking at it. And then these stairs on the right, which are like, why is it like that? At least they have a railing.
One side.
Well, okay, one side, the other side's like, okay, if you're not holding on to it, you may hit the floor. So 79%, the good thing about this is that 79% of these people understand that their home needs some modification. But most everyone else is saying, oh, this won't ever happen to me. I'm good. I know I got good balance. So they're obviously living in that place in Europe and in Africa, the state of denial. So these are just showing the various sort of differences that the consumer products, the Centers for Disease Control had established. One of the biggest groups there is the first one. That's cognition. That whether it's Alzheimer, dementia, whatever the case may be, it's nearly 14% of our population, of this segment of the population has that. And it can be a real problem, especially with people who may be prone to eloping, that's a correct term, leaving a safe place, not that your teenage daughter has been run off with her beau. And so, but then the next one is mobility. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in regards to mobility, but nonetheless, that's still a large percent of the population that has difficulty walking or climbing stairs. Then independent living, meaning the ability to be able to do, their errands alone, going out to the grocery store, or the drugstore, or whatever. Hearing, vision, and then self-care. Self-care meaning bathing, toileting, doing laundry, things of that sort, making meals. Overall, 26% of the people that are over 65 have multiple of these things. And I know I'm not trying to be harsh on people. How many people in here have a disability? Okay. I see a few people in here who wear glasses. Nothing against it. I wear them from time to time when I'm reading. Is that, if you didn't have glasses, would it be a disability for you to be able to see what you're doing, drive safely, whatever, not cut your fingers off? And so that's, and the thing is, like people who wear contacts, they don't wear them all the time. And I don't know too many people who take showers with their glasses on. I mean, I've never really gone out to do a poll. It's like, let me see if you're wearing glasses, but most people don't. There's certain things I can do in life, and there's certain places I can't go. One of those is the women's room. So over 3 million people in the United States use a wheelchair. It's about 1 in 100. Now, okay, you're going to see a lot of people here today. There's probably, I don't know, like 300 people as part of this event, maybe a little bit more. And one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of these people is they have challenges just even getting out of their home, let alone getting out into the public. Usually most wheelchair users have trouble walking. Many can't walk even a quarter mile down to, say, where their postal box might be if they live in an area that has a centralized box area. 50% of these, at least 50% of these people have entrances into their home. Now, the ones that don't have that, either they're living in an apartment building, a condo, that there aren't that, or they do something to their home from the get-go to be able to make it so that there's 0 thresholds, no steps into the home, which, trust me, I've done it with my home. It takes quite a bit to be able to pull that off, and I'll show you pictures of that in a little bit. There's another, like about 2 in 100 people use other sorts of mobility devices, whether they're canes, crutches, walkers, or scooters. Saw a gentleman here who's in a scooter at the event. Okay, and then the other one, 33% of mobility devices need assistance from other people to be able to do their activities of daily living. Cooking, as I mentioned, bathing, toileting. And one of the things that, like, if, say, your parents end up living with you, they usually will end up saying that, you know what, I think it's time for me to go to an assisted living facility. They may not tell you why, but the bottom line is they may be having difficulty doing toileting hygiene, and the last thing they want to do is have their offspring take care of, or adults here, wiping their butts. Why is this a problem? All right, well, as people age, they're at a greater risk of injuries and disabilities, along with a much slower healing process, okay? I know that like you get a cut in your hand when you were like a teenager, and like miraculously was gone in like about 5 days. But for somebody who's older, they just don't heal that fast. I'm sorry? Well, there are some people who think they're like I said before, they're in a state of denial. I'm not going into politics there. I'm just talking the general population. 2 in 5 adults over 65 have some sort of disability. Okay, many have multiple, okay, disabilities: vision, cognition, hearing, whatever. In the last 10 years, in the 50-year period, the National Center for Health Statistics expects older people with physical cognition issues to grow almost 150%, from 6.3 to 15.7 million. That's a huge change in that 50-year period. And then the other unfortunate thing about this is that a lot of families can't, whoops, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. They can't pay for having somebody go into memory care. Memory care and nursing care is like one of the most expensive sort of cares that you can get into. Memory care is really a challenge. If you've ever been to a place that has memory care, I mean, it's locked down. The people there, the staff members, they're saints, because some of the people do indeed get very physical or mean to the staff members. And so some people have to deal with that at home on their own with an aging parent. So the number one issue for people 65 and over, falls. Falls amount to 26% of all the deaths. And again, the problem is that 1 in 4 people fall every year over 65, but probably only a fraction of those people who fall tell somebody else, I fell, okay? Because they know what the circumstance might end up being. It's like, you fall again, you might have a broken hip, you may have neurologic injury, meaning like, you know, you've got a subdural hematoma that requires immediate attention. There it is, 3 in 10. I mentioned 4, but it's 3 in 10 every year fall. This was an article from just 3 days ago in the New York Times, why more people are falling. You know, you see all these advertisements on TV about various medications, and it's like, okay, it's all great. But the challenge is that most people who are over 65, they may be taking 5 to 7, maybe more medications, and who knows what the interactions of those medications can be. And so you've got things going, and then you've got some of these people using other non-legal sort of medications, marijuana, cocaine, whatever you want to call it. Nobody's ever going to do those studies to be able to find out the interactions of all these various compounds together. So it's a very interesting article that just came out just a few days ago. The U.S., 2021, deaths from falls every 19 minutes, okay? So one of the bigger issues for me, and why I'm trying to do a lot of this work, is the age-adjusted fall rate went from 41%, increased 41% from 55.3 per 100,000 older adults in 2012 to 78 per 100,000. I mean, that's a huge change. And we keep talking about let's we need to do these various things. Let me just, why is that doing that? We need to do all these changes, but not enough people are making these changes. The grab bars in the bathroom, the more appropriate, having 2 rails on staircases, things of that sort. So by 2030, and I mentioned up above, every 19 minutes, by 2030, it may end up being a person dying every 9 minutes from a fall. It's a terrible stat. And one of the other problems with falls, from a societal standpoint, we're paying about $40 billion a year because of falls. Whether it's, the guys, the ambulance company, fire department coming out to get somebody back on their feet, or they're having to go to the hospital because they need immediate hip or neurologic surgery. And then the issue of people who have hearing losses, what can end up happening with those over time is that they're at risk of an additional fall just because many times their vestibular system, what controls their balance, may end up being adversely affected. And so they're not all that stable in their feet. If they're just a little bit off balance, they may be on the floor. Falls account for about 95% of 300,000 annual U.S. hip fractures. Okay? A terrible number. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing is that many people don't have their house set up the way it should be to be able to help prevent that. Those who do have a fracture of their hip, 21% die in the first year because of either infection or depression. They're getting to that point that's like, I can't do what I used to do. I can barely do anything because it's hard to go through the rehab and the therapy and all that for them. And then individuals 75 and older who have a hip fracture are 4 to 5 times more likely to be admitted to a long-term sort of care facility. So why push for the change? Well, first off, we all know about the ADA, which is a great thing. They'll allow people to get everywhere, but those are only for places like this where the public can get to. It does not cover anything in the home. And you guys are walking, talking, knowledgeable people about various versions of the International Residential Code, which is great. But that barely addresses real accessibility of safety issues, some of these safety issues in the home. For example, I pulled this right out of IRC. The exterior door is clear passage of 32 inches at width and 78 inches height, okay? If you're in a wheelchair, you're basically, your hands are going to be about here. You may end up scuffing the sides of your hands as you're going through it, let alone the wheelchair is starting to damage the framing around the door. And to me, the difference in price from going from a 32-inch to a 36-inch wide door is kind of minuscule when you start thinking like, how much more drywall do I have to put up? How much more framing? How much more, texturing, painting, all that sort of stuff. It's truly, as a new construction, inconsequential to be able to do that. Our home, again, we did all the interior doors that are passageway doors, meaning I can go through it, to be 36 inches. And on top of that, we made all the doors inside the house, which is unusual for most houses, to swing away from the room. Anybody have a reason why I might have done that?
Get out in an emergency.
Exactly. It's somebody coming to rescue you in an emergency. If you've fallen against that door, how are you going to get in there to be able to give them assistance? So we have doors that swing away from the rooms. Yes, sir.
I thought there was something in the code though that they didn't want bedroom doors swinging out because somebody could put something and a person could get barricaded in a bedroom though.
It's one.
I know it's one. Of the other.
I've not seen that code, but you guys are more walking, talking people on that. I used to have a very good knowledge of it when I was a Class B general contractor, but time goes on, different versions come out. I get that, but it's like it's that bathroom door where somebody falls against it. It's like, okay, how am I going to help them? I'm now having to break through, either wait for the fire department to come through with a saw to be able to open it up, or going through the drywall, and who knows what's behind it. Yes, sir.
I live in Southern California, and I know we have several builders that build new construction 55 and older communities, and they're doing all those things. All the doors are 36 inches. They all open out.
I mean, some people are reluctant to having the doors that open out because they have kids and the kids might run into it. Trust me, they'll run into it once. They'll remember. They'll remember that.
And the interesting thing is the place, like some of them are two-story places.
Uh-huh.
Or some of them are single-story, but they're on the second floor. They're putting elevators in all of them.
That's good. That's a good thing. I mean, an elevator or a vertical platform lift to be able to take them from one level to another. I mean, those are all good things, especially to at least prepare for them down the road. You know, if you're doing new construction, they have the electrical outlet up there to be able to deal, like one of the more common elevators now are pneumatic elevators. They're vacuum, they pull up by vacuum and they release, they're just like
the money
cylinders.
transfer things they used to use, the tubes.
Yeah, at banks, exactly, except a little bit bigger version. Then they give the landing as wide as the door and 36 inches deep. Well, if you're in a wheelchair, how are you going to open, like you say you have a screen door, how are you going to be able to pull that door open when you only have a platform there that goes back 36 inches? You're going to take that door off, but nonetheless. And then nothing is said in the building code about the number of steps up to the landing, okay? I mean, we have all seen houses, especially like in New York City, where you go up about 8 steps just to get to the landing. How do people get up those? I mean, it's like, so this is, again, I said I'm going to show a number of pictures of our house. This is the passageway from the garage, the brown, the speckled floor, into the house. There's no threshold there. And how we went about doing that are drop-down door seals. So as the door shuts, I'm going to get my handy-dandy laser going here. Down here, there's a post that sticks out, a metal post. As the door shuts, that post is pushed in, then pushing the seal down. And these seals, you know, work really well. I have one on our exterior door. We've not had any snow coming into it, no rain, no wind, no rodents, no insects, because it seals quite nicely. The nice thing about this, unlike a regular floor threshold, over time that wears out because you're rolling over it, you're kicking it, whatever. This, I can replace that seal very easily because it's just a silicone seal that just slides in the track. It actually is really quite nice to be able to come in and not have to worry about having to step up. I'll tell you a group of people who love this design of this house were our contractors, bringing in tile, drywall, appliances, cabinets. They just rolled straight in. No issue for them. Welcome. That's right. Some popular safety features that people are going for these days, because people want that peace of mind. Backup power generator or batteries. We live, again, Colorado, I mentioned we had the fire. Our power company now is doing preemptive power failures because, like in California, they are turning the power off, hopefully before fire can happen because we get these really high winds. That fire was a result of having a very, very wet spring and then a summer through December where we had really no precipitation. We had less precipitation than Death Valley. And it was a day where it was 105 miles an hour wind, and power line came off, created sparks. It just took off from there with that dry land and that high wind. So they do these preemptive power failures now. They give us notice, but not having some sort of backup power, it's like, well, there goes all my stuff in the refrigerator. But for other people, it's like, well, how am I going to deal with my medical device that has no power? Accommodations for multiple generations. And like, I mentioned earlier about having that connected environment, being able to have a kitchen that has multiple height counters to allow somebody in a wheelchair or even in a seat to be able to work there, or a taller person who's, say 6'8", a regular countertop isn't all that comfortable for them. So we have another area that makes it a lot more easier for somebody like that. Wider and accessible doorways, stairways, and hallways. So you see here, this staircase going up actually I wanted to have rails on both sides. There may be that point in time that I need to be able to go up the stairs like this. I'm holding on and pulling myself up the stairs. But the other thing is that if I'm not doing things right, and I'm carrying something in my right hand, and the railing's on my right side because I'm right-handed. If I start tumbling, I don't have anything to grab onto, okay? And then there's the issue where some people may have, loss of an arm because of a stroke or other issue. Home security monitoring equipment. Now this isn't necessarily meaning cameras in people's homes. There's really neat equipment out there now that will allow like a caregiver to be able to see, Mom got up this morning. I can see that she got out of bed. Mom opened the medicine cabinet, so it must mean that she probably took her medication. They can't say that she did because, at like medical centers or assisted living facilities, they'll say, okay, put it in your mouth, now put your tongue out because I want to see that you swallowed it. But some of this equipment is really quite fascinating in that they can actually do some AI as to person normally is walking across like normal pace, and then over time they start walking like this, much slower pace. They can basically look at that and say, wait, this has changed over the last 2 months. Might be time for you to be able to get your mom or dad into seeing a physical therapist or a physician because there's something going on with their gait and their balance. Interior ramps and home conveyance features. Interior ramps meaning like some people have, I don't know for what reason, sunken living rooms, which are to me is a hazard to begin with for anybody. Or home conveyance features like, again, elevators, platform lifts, stair lifts, things of that sort, or ramps to be able to say get from their house to their rear patio because there was that sliding door there. Was one thing that we did not do in our house is to basically put that at the floor level, put the sliding glass door at floor level. It's a real nightmare in Colorado because you have to have the ability to be able to have water to be able to drain from underneath it. And now I'm going in the foundation with plumbing to be able, and then I have to heat that to be able to allow that to have no threshold going across it. But we do have other ways to be able to get somebody in and out to the back porch as necessary.
Is that a wired tray? I'm looking at it, that's just optical.
What's that?
The tray on the stairs, is that wired?
It's about this wide.
Well, I mean, the depth.
The depth. Oh, the tread. Oh no, that's the way the camera lens is. It's not. It's all uniform. Trust me, because I wouldn't want to have different tread depths. That would just make no sense. It's my camera. It's my iPhone. It's like, okay, there is some pictures in here by a professional photographer because we just submitted it for an award through the National Kitchen Bath Association. Like this, okay? Okay, planning for the future. Making at least one sink vanity a different height than the other. My wife is 5'2", I'm 5'10". We also made her vanity such that it has pocket doors. You open it up and slide it back in like an entertainment center. But the bottom of that cabinet, we designed the base of that to be pulled out so somebody could roll right underneath that to be able to use that. So it doesn't look like it's a sink for somebody who has challenges, but we thought about that beforehand. Installing outlets behind toilets for powered bidet seats. Anybody use a bidet seat? Oh my gosh. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely perfect. I just bought the whole thing to blow it all.
Yeah?
It's definitely heated seat,
Heated water, heated dryer.
heated air.
Yeah. They're really worthwhile having, but it's not just for a bidet seat. You can use it for a nightlight. You can use it for, people who say they don't use their phone in the bathroom. Having a plug there because sometimes people are in there a little longer than others and they want to charge their phone up. But the bidet seat is really a great addition because it makes, for people who have, again, we're all adults in here, hemorrhoids or lesions where it makes cleansing themselves painful set of circumstances. Having that gentle flow of water on there to irrigate it is great. But the other thing is that I have 2 women in the room. What ends up, men have urinary tract infections. I don't want to just pick on women, but the incident rate for women is higher than men. And as some people get older, they may not be paying attention to how they should be dealing with their toileting hygiene. And one of the problems with a urinary tract infection is that it can affect one's balance. And so, okay, that's, all right, we're going to put you on drugs to be able to take care of that. Well, the drugs also affect one's balance. So it's this unfortunate vicious cycle that goes on for those people. Whereas a UTI can reduce the incident rate, a bidet seat can reduce that incident rate by 80%. So it, not only is it nice, comfortable, reduces the amount of toilet paper you have to use, but it does have a medical benefit by having them. So that you know, like when we talk with designers, we talk with construction people, it's like whenever you're doing a bathroom remodel, always put that outlet down below where the toilet is, because you never know when you're going to want that. It's a GFCI outlet there. You know, again, once if they go to a friend's house and it's like they have a bidet seat. I know people come to our house because we have a few of them. It's like, I want one. I mean, honestly, it's that sort of quick conversion. But where am I going to plug it in?
It's funny because my experience with it, this is universal. Everybody that looks at it first says, I would never use one of those. So they go off on it. And then they use it, and every single person says, you need to have them every day.
Yeah. They make them that just use tap water, but living in Colorado where the water is mountain runoff, having that kind of come up your tuchus is not something that's not so comfortable. It's like all of a sudden you're getting this big shiver going through it. So a friend of mine, when he purchased one, he didn't have an outlet in his bathroom. He purchased one, then he built a new home, and it's like, oh, now I understand. He really detested using it, but nonetheless, it was one of those benefits for him because he had hemorrhoids, which were always problematic for him. Curbless showers. Okay, this is our curbless shower. Okay, roll right in with a roll-in shower chair, not a wheelchair. People don't use wheelchairs going in the showers because they don't want them getting wet. They're usually made with PVC piping with casters to allow them to be able to turn, if you will, on a dime, because a wheelchair you just can't turn on a dime. And they're narrower because you don't have the wheels on the outside. So no threshold in that shower, a linear drain at the back, which actually works great. I mean, some people are like reluctant to doing it, but there is a slant going back that way, and the door, you can't see it easily, but the door has a sweep at the bottom of it that really doesn't come in contact with it until it gets closer to closing the door because it's going downhill. So, and then this bathroom not only has a shower bench there and a shower back, but also the floor is heated. Some people, anybody who's ever had like peripheral neuropathy where they can't feel properly? Well, nonetheless, it is problematic for a lot of people who are diabetic, that they start losing the sensation in their extremities. And when they step onto a cold tile surface like that, their nerves go into overdrive. It makes them feel like they're stepping on pins and needles. So that floor, that bench, and the back of the bench is all heated. It's on a timer because most people take showers in the morning. You see that there's 2 stripes in there. Anybody have any idea why one would want to do that besides aesthetics? I'm sorry? Visual reference, establishing a horizon so that, when again, as I mentioned before, I don't know too many people who use their glasses in the shower, but the real challenge is if you're in a snowy white shower area, if you have poor vision, you have nothing. You're just seeing like you're in a blizzard. Okay, you have no reference line there. So we put one in, for normal adult height, and another one for somebody who's in a wheelchair to be able to realign. Because again, one of the problems that a lot of people have is they bend over, they come back up again, and they have this vertigo reaction. Now the whole room's spinning. Now they have something to at least have that reference for them. And the other thing that we did here, okay, this isn't a great photo of this because it's showing the towel on top of the grab bar. That's really truly a grab bar. But normally we put the towel on the towel rail underneath this. And the reason for that is that when one's falling, they're going to try to grab for anything they can. They may end up grabbing that towel, and they and the towel are on the ground now. Whereas with it underneath the rail, they're more likely to be able to grab that rail. And the other thing that we did is like the color there, matches the finishes of our plumbing fixtures. Because again, as I mentioned before, it's like, who wants the stainless steel? Who wants the drab white grab bars in their bathroom? They want the bathroom to look nice. So that's what we did there. Other things, connected technology. Some of the things that a lot of people are doing now, number one thing is the number 2 item on there are video doorbells. Okay, I don't have to be at the front door to see that it's somebody who's trying to sell me magazines. We've had that in our neighborhood. It's like, no, I'm not interested. I don't have to go to the front door. I can be in my office. I can be in my bedroom. I can be in the kitchen, whatever, and I can say, nope, sorry, not interested. And did you see the sign above the doorbell that says no solicitation? I wouldn't want to buy anything from you if you couldn't read that. Installing smart outlets and light switches and dimmers. You guys are familiar with the International Energy Conservation Code to a point? Okay. You're supposed to, for our home, because we wanted to meet that, it means nearly all switches have to either be on timers, people who leave their bathroom fans on all day long, and now you're sucking air out of the house until you come back to the house oh, I left it on this morning. So to have something like a vacancy timer on it, to be able to turn it on, or better yet, a humidity sensor with a timer associated with it, to either let the time out or the humidity drop below a certain level so it would go off on its own. But the reason for dimmers is, again, one of the artifacts of people as they get older, and I'm sure it used to be more common in the past where people would pull out their flashlight or their magnifying glass when they go to a restaurant because it's lighting like this in there, except for what's shining on me, which I barely see the back row. And because the menu is on parchment paper, the font is with gray ink, and it's usually italicized, and the price is usually smaller. And so now you see people pulling out their phone. Many times they're using the camera now to be able to expand out what's there. But it is a problem. One of the issues is that somebody who's 60 needs 3 times more illumination than they did when they were 20 to see the same thing. And as they get older, they need even more. So the thing is that put more intensity into the home for lighting, because you never know when you may need more, but put dimmers on it so you don't feel like you're walking on the surface of the sun. Cameras inside and outside the home with either local storage, like either a SD card or cloud file storage. Especially having cameras that may be AI, that as one walks past the camera's tracking them to be able to see what they're doing, because unfortunately there's still nefarious people out there that want to do bad things. Overhead garage doors that have battery backups and are connected to Wi-Fi. Anybody in here from California? Okay.
It's required.
It's required in California. It's the only state that it's required to have a battery backup on garage door openers for new ones. Okay. And the reason we have firsthand experience of this in our neighborhood. When the fire was happening, there were 2 older women in their 80s that were just doing their normal thing during the day. And one woman realized there was a fire. She went to the garage because when there's a fire, they're going to turn the power off to protect the firefighters and everybody else. They turn the power off. She goes to the garage. She's trying to get it. It's not going anywhere. And so that's why California started that, because
they determined that 76 people died in the parasite fire for that reason.
Yep. So luckily she had a landline, because either the cell phones were jammed because you had 30,000 people trying to evacuate at the same time, trying to call somebody, say, here's what's going on, or they lost power also. And so luckily she had a landline to be able to call 911. It's like, hey, I can't get out of here. Can you send somebody here to be able to? She's not tall enough to be able to reach the pull cord. She's not strong enough to be able to lift the door. But nonetheless, she could have been there were 2 people who died. There could have been a 3rd person who passed away. But the other thing about this isn't the greatest of pictures, but the pull cord is here, okay? So It's much easier for somebody to reach than trying to go over the door to be able to pull it. But this also, the nice thing about these, most of the new garage door openers is that they're smart. They're connected to Wi-Fi. And one of the nice things about that is that, if you leave, you can either program it to shut after a few minutes after it's been opened, or shut every night like I have it to make certain it's down. 9 o'clock every night, it will automatically shut if we left it open. That way I don't get that knock on the door, the doorbell ring by our local constable coming by saying, your door is open. You have nice things in the garage, you may want to shut. It's like, oh, jeez. Okay. Smart deadbolts. Nice thing about smart deadbolts, I don't have to give keys to anybody. Okay? I can open it remotely myself, or I can give a code to somebody who's coming once, and that code's going to be used only once, or every Wednesday, my nice cleaning lady comes to my house. I can give her a code that basically says anytime Wednesday from 8 to 5, that code's valid, to be able to allow that sort of thing. The other thing is that some fire departments are accepting a code for your front door, because otherwise, if you call 911 and that door is not open, they're doing something to get into that house. And so it's a great way to do it. I mean, there was also, you guys familiar with Knox boxes? Okay. Knox box is great also, but it's an additional cost. If you get a smart device, boom, it's there already. You can say, here's my code. If there's a 911 call, just punch that in, and you're good to go. Panic lighting on all lights in case of emergency or intruder. I mean, the problem that, like if someone's in your home and you're going through and you're turning on lights as you go, they know exactly where you're at. Whereas if you have the smart lights that just basically, if there's an emergency event, all the inside and outdoor lights come on. I mean, it's great for the firefighters that are coming to be able to open that smart deadbolt to be able to have all the lights on in the home at full intensity. Smart kitchen and laundry appliances. I'm pretty particular. I want to get my clothes out of the dryer as the dryer is done, because I don't like wrinkles. I don't like to have iron. I mean, what's that? I mean, I really don't like using an iron. It's great for me to be able to be notified that it's done, and then I can go there and take it out, hang it, do whatever. In the kitchen, the oven, if you have a smart oven you put a probe into, say you're doing a roast, I don't have to keep coming back to the roast to see what the temperature is. I can see from my office, like, oh, it's only 120 degrees. I need to let it go for another 15 degrees or whatever. It's great. The other thing about these appliances is they will tell me when they need service. Like you need to clean the oven, you need to clean the washing machine, or you usually what ends up happening with an appliance is it just goes dead. The compressor starts dying. But most of the time, it's a kind of a gradual problem until it just steps off. These devices will let me know if there's a problem with the compressor before it really becomes a problem in advance of that. They'll also let me know for like the dishwasher that, oh boy, yes, I need to put in some rinse aid, because the new dishwashers don't dry like they used to because of trying not to use as much energy. But if there's no rinse aid in there, there's lots of spots. Other trends, indoor air quality, whether limiting volatile organic compounds in the house, doing fresh air makeup. I mean, that's really important, especially with the way houses are today, so that they're so tight that you need to be able to exchange that air, and having something like an energy recovery ventilator that will basically monitor the system and then say I need to turn on, or just basically every 15 minutes on the hour, we're going to turn it on for 10 minutes to be able to pull air out of the house and bring in fresh air and have it go across a heat exchanger. Better temperature and humidity control. There's that sweet range. It's kind of like the Goldilocks range for humidity. And that's like between, does anybody know what the appropriate range for humidity is? Bingo. Who said that? Exactly. Okay. Below that, it's too dry. You run the risk of furniture cracking, coming up to your pet and wanting to pet them, and they're like, no, I don't want you to give me a static charge. And higher than that, it's problematic from a mold standpoint. And then reducing inhalable particulate matter. Okay, you didn't necessarily smoke the item in your kitchen, but you've been doing a stir fry where there's putting up a lot of particulate matter to be able to sense that the ventilation needs to go on. Lighting, better control, as I talked about just a little while ago. And then there's the issue of some people having real challenges, especially with the fast change of the season, with circadian patterns, along with seasonal affect disorder. And then on top of this other issue is some people are under the thought that, okay, I need to remove blue light about 2 hours before I go to bed, because everybody's computer screen, there's a bit of blue on here. Blue is a very common color that's used on computers and televisions. The intention there is blue will suppress the creation of melatonin, the natural melatonin, to help you fall asleep. And so that's the whole aspect of that. So you can have smart lights that remove that blue component starting at, like, say, 8 o'clock at night, just to be able to notch it off. So it's a little bit different lighting for some people, but you can indeed do that. And then there's biophilia. Here's our powder room. Grab bars, towel bars, wall-mounted toilet. That's a bidet seat there as well, although the professional photographer, he actually took out the outlet that was right here. It's like, I mean, the problem was the cord. We didn't have the cord all that well organized, so he's like, I just got to get rid of it. But the plant in there, biophilia, is something that allows people to have that perspective of feeling part of nature. It looks a little weird in here, but it does indeed work for some people having plants throughout the home. And so one of the things, while I'm on this topic, it's not biophilia, let's go backwards, is we chose to go with wall-mounted toilets. And the reason for that is this bathroom, that space there, although it doesn't look all that wide, is actually about 62 inches wide. And so it makes it very easy for a wheelchair to be able to turn in that room without hitting walls and the like. And so by using a wall-mounted toilet, that gave me extra space in that powder room environment, if you will, because otherwise, with a floor-mounted toilet, I'm already taking up about 12 inches more space in that bathroom. And the other thing is, I don't know too many people who clean behind the toilet. It's like, I'm not going down there. There's stuff that's growing there forever and ever. I don't want to come close to it. So that was another reason why we went with wall-mounted toilets in 2 places in our homes. All right, why is this so important for you guys? From my standpoint, again, I pointed out this earlier, most people don't want bad things happening to them, but many don't understand or know what could happen to them. It's like you have these steps going down, and there's nothing on there that's going to improve to help prevent you from slipping going down those steps. Okay? Many people don't have the knowledge of the things that they should be doing to keep their house working properly. Okay? As home inspectors, you see many of these faulty issues left and right in homes. Again, I used to get the publication from ASHI, and the back page of it would be showing the unfortunate things that you guys have found in people's homes, which is like, oh my God, the electrical wiring that's like so jacked. It's like, no, thank you. You're also aware of many of the preventative things people should be doing in homes, okay? Because you probably do that in your own homes. I mean, I always like asking this question, especially of electricians. When was the last time you tested your GFCI? Any GFCI in your home? When was the last time you tested yours? Okay? Except you do it when you're doing a test for somebody else.
A month or test a year.
You do it every month?
Just, it's a random thing in my house.
Okay.
It's not every single one, just an area I'll hit one.
You were about to say something?
Yeah, usually annually.
Okay, what does it say on the outlet?
Every 30 days.
Every month. Some say, I've seen some that say weekly. It's like, now there's ones now that they'll self-test, but nonetheless, most of the ones are still ancient in version. The other thing, and this is kind of a side topic to this, GFCIs are problematic because they have electronics, electronics in it, not just electricity, electronics, to be able to sense the difference of current going from line to neutral at a maximum of 5 milliamperes. It's pretty small. But those electronics are susceptible to surges. And most homes don't have whole house surge protectors. And so it is important to test those periodically because you never know when it may not work any longer. It's just basically just an outlet, not a GFCI. And the other thing about you guys, I know like when we purchased 2 houses, the second house, we used the same inspector for the second house that we did for the first house. Because we knew he was spot on. He wasn't trying to, basically warn us of things that really weren't a big issue, but we trusted him. And I'm guessing that is universally the case for all you guys out here as to being reliable and trustworthy people in their lives, okay? And so they see you in a very unique way. You're the trusted advisor, if you will, okay? So why this is an important topic? Who here as a home inspector right now is seeing their business going like this? Okay? Where are you located, by the way? Okay, nice place. You?
Milwaukee area.
Okay, I've seen Milwaukee has a nice renaissance going on. I saw another hand go up. Were you? Louisiana. So your business is taking off, but most everybody else, is it going kind of sideways or is it kind of dipping? Well, yeah, I hear, kind of the realm, but for the ones that, it's Boy Scouts always said, be prepared. And what I'm trying to convey to you is perhaps to diversify yourselves, to be able to consider going into other markets, not under your home inspection moniker, your company, because that obviously is a conflict of interest per your codes or whatever you through where you get certified. But you are that trusted individual. You're not going to try to oversell your clients on things that they don't need, but you're also aware of, for many of these people, of the periodic maintenance things that need to be done. We can come in every 3 months with a fresh air filter for you. We'll take care of it. Well, we know your air filter is up on the ceiling here. We don't want you getting onto a step ladder because we don't want to hear about Joan falling and breaking her hip and now I'm not doing any work for her any longer. Or the circumstance of like when we were in this one house we lived in during the fire, after the fire, my wife was kind of complaining about, why does this water look a little bit brownish? Okay? You guys probably would go right straight to the conclusions like, well, what should be done? Probably flush the hot water heater? I did flush the hot water heater. I put the hose in the sink and I had this big puddle mound of sediment that looked like liver there. And there was a lot, because a lot of it went down the drain, but here's this part that just kind of was there. It's like, oh my gosh, it was just, and this is not well water. This is residential water in a town that's about 120,000 people. It's like, wow. And so it was the original hot water heater. And, the benefit of periodically flushing is that sediment acts as an insulator. So that hot water heater is nowhere near as efficient as it was once before because you've got this insulation layer going on. But it's like just the gross factors. My wife's like, I don't want to take a bath in that. So you could also market your good standing with past and possibly new clients. It's like, hey, you guys must have some sort of like database of your past clients. You can let them know that, by the way, this other company can come in and do some assessments for you in regards to accessibility, health, safety, and security to be able to take care of those things for them. Because again, they understand that you're looking out for their best interest. You're not like a contractor who's like, I can pad my pocket by doing all these things. I want to see if I skipped a slide. Okay, yeah, I didn't. Okay, so more people are concerned about their indoor air environment in their homes. Again, partly because homes are more sealed than they used to be. We chose to go with casement windows in our home for 2 reasons. One is that the cranks are all about 26, 28 inches off the floor. The locks are just a little bit higher than that. Because if I have a slider, where's it at? I'm in a wheelchair. How am I ever going to get to that to be able to have fresh air come in? Or if it's a single double hung, if somebody pushes that window up high, how am I going to get to it to pull it down? Or if it's so hard to push up, I can't possibly get it to come down easily. The other reason why we chose to go with casement windows is that they seal better. Unlike something that's going to slide across the seal over and over again over time, that seal is going to, those bristles there are going to wear. And now I'm going to have air infiltration in the house that you don't want. Whereas a casement window is just pushing against those bristles. There's no movement, it's just compression. So they work better over time. So over the next few slides, these are suggestions that I usually have for people as to talking about it, but not really talking about something, okay? So, all right, tips for preventing falls. I'm talking with a client, okay? This could be you also. When we moved into our home, there were towel bars there, but there was those really flimsy plastic things. And you've seen those screws that they use on those. They're like number 4, number 6 screws. And those little plastic inserts, those are almost worthless. And those are really only meant to be able to hold a small picture on a wall or a calendar or whatever, okay? So instead, my wife picked out these beautiful, strong bars, installed them with appropriate wall anchors or screws. They're designed for hundreds of pounds. Let's change your towel bars for you and your family, okay? Not talking about the grab bar, okay? Just talking about the towel bar, like the one that's shown there. And there is a picture showing the towel appropriately placed, okay? Or, do you have somebody come into your home? One of your friends that's using crutches or wheelchair? Not wheelchair, excuse me, well, wheelchair too, but crutches or a walker? You ever see how white-knuckled they are? They know full well that if they lose contact with that walker, they may be on the floor. Can you imagine what it's like for them in this bath, not the bathroom here, but your bathroom, that there's nothing there to be able to help them get up off that toilet where they may be having challenges? And would you want them on your floor? Well, you'd never forgive yourself for it. So how about installing a few grab bars to be able to make it such that it's easy for somebody to be able to get on and off the toilet? Not saying that you need it. Your friends might need it. It's a kind of reverse psychology. Like with my mom, I just put them in. Yeah, I caught flack from her. Again, she's saying that I like these. Go figure. So, I was mentioning about the color. So this grab bar right here is interesting in that the new ADA requires a vertical bar, because a horizontal bar for somebody trying to get up off of the toilet, their hand is like this. And many times arthritis is just too hard for them to do that. Whereas this is a neutral position, and having a vertical grab bar there help them get up off of it makes a lot of sense. But we wanted to basically just put one integrated L-shaped grab bar in. And matter of speaking, the toilet paper holder is also capable of holding 250 pounds. All right, same picture we showed earlier. Everyone has, at one point in time, stubbed their toe getting in and out of a shower, or worse yet, they've had problems getting into a bathtub or out, especially out, because now their feet are wet and they're having to go over it and then down to the floor. And we know some of the people who've had a serious fall because of that environment. Most new showers have no steps to get into them. Grab bars are a great solution. I personally know it reduces accidents. Or the new ones have available finishes like your bathroom faucets. They look beautiful, and everyone's going this way, and they love it. Besides, they eliminated that step that's going to rot over time, because they do. And we always install them that way, and you never know when you might want them to be that way, because you may need to use a wheelchair to get in the shower. Functionality. After 20 years of doing construction work, getting down on my knees, likewise, my back and shoulders are stiff. My knees just don't feel the way they used to. And boy, those plugs that are down low, every time I come up, I feel like my head's starting to spin because I had to go so low. And I'm sure you guys have seen this, outlets in baseboards. Why? Why in a baseboard? Because it's extra work to do that, but that's not me. So when we remodeled our home, we had the outlets go up to 24 inches off the floor. It's like right here. It's perfect for anybody, whether they're able-bodied, wheelchair, walker, whatever, to be able to get in, to be able to put the plug in or pull it out. And then at the same time, we changed the position of our light switches, because like my bathroom in this hotel, it's about 60 inches up or so. It's like, how is somebody who's short, let alone in a wheelchair, going to be able to reach that switch? So we put all the light switches and thermostats down at 44 inches above the floor. Okay, makes it easy for everybody. And for some people, they have shoulder issues. It's like trying to get up higher. It's like, I can't get there. I'm using a broomstick to be able to turn lights on and off. So an interesting point about this, the guy that's taken a lot of the professional photographs of our home, he came in, he did not know why that we had done the outlets the way we did. There's some exceptions to that. Obviously, you know the code that you need to have outlet within 6 foot of anywhere you're at in the home with exceptions. And our windows are wider than 12 feet, and so we needed to put an outlet down low below the windows. That I said the sills are about 26 inches off the floor. Those outlets had to be below that. But that, for the most part, they all about 24 inches off the floor. And he's like, I've been in a lot of houses having plug-in lights and all this to be able to do this photography. It's like, this was so easy for me to just go boom and in. So, and this is an able-bodied guy. How many people have blinds behind their sink? There's a window there. Is it easy to operate? No. All right, so we could never reach the window blinds over our kitchen counters, but we needed those window blinds because it was south-facing. In the wintertime, the sun's at a shallower angle, and it's shining into my eyes, and I'm getting these after images, multiple on the back of my eye, and I can't see in the kitchen. We changed the shades to these ones that are motorized, that are powered by self-charging solar batteries. Oh, they're amazing. And what more than anything else, it makes my wife happy. Okay? To be able to be in there, I do most of the cooking. She does most of the cleaning. We actually have a balcony from our bedroom because in a fire, if we're there, the fire is going to happen in the house so fast that we couldn't get out. So we have that balcony there, and we're not about to use a fire escape ladder off the balcony because I'm 80 years old at that point in time. It's like, I'm going to go over the railing and try to get onto this ladder. No. I'll take my cell phone with me, call the fire department, and say, first thing you do, come rescue us. But nonetheless, the motorized blinds are great because they can go on schedules. Have it go up, like 10 minutes before sunrise. Have it go down at sunset. Whatever you want to do. See those? Anybody here have a smart faucet in their home? You got everything. What brand do you have? Moen, Delta.
Yeah, that's one of those.
Okay.
I like to cook, so it makes it really nice.
Oh, God, well, okay. I should let you talk about this. All right. So have you seen those wonderful new voice and touch faucets, motion faucets? They're beautiful, easy to use, and you know what? They reduce contamination. Every time I'm cutting something like chicken, and my hands are all covered with ook, and the last thing I want to do is touch something. And so I now can just nudge up against it with my elbow, or I can command my speaker to say, turn it on, okay? I don't have to touch anything after I've got my hands cleansed. And now their prices are dropping. I mean, when they first came out, they were like $800 a piece. Pretty pricey for a faucet. But now you can find them as low as like $300 or so. And then on top of that, one of the things I always forget about doing is like I'm making pasta, doing boiling water for potatoes, and I'm filling my pot up, and I'm going to get distracted by, phone call that comes in. Hey, Steve, what's going on? And now I come back to it, and the pot's overflowing. It's been running for like 5 minutes. I can actually say, hey, Alexa, ask Delta to dispense 6 quarts of water. And I can walk away, and it's spot on. I mean, I can go down to like less than a cup of water, and it will dispense it that accurately. And because it will easily turn off, or these actually have, many of them have this feature where they'll automatically turn off after 4 minutes. So I'm not worried about wasting too much water. They save water. And we have one in our kitchen. It's great. It really is. I mean, there are a few things that I missed in our home when we were living in temporary housing. Having that faucet was one. The bidet seats were the other. Here's a similar topic I brought up before about the outlet for the bidet seat. You know, there's a few of you from here in Louisiana, correct? Okay. Most places I go to, the outlets are in hotels and are where the prongs, hot, neutral, are up. Here, everything is turned upside down, like what you see in this photo. Is there code here that they try to follow? I know hospitals do that because they don't want to have something drape across hot and neutral, hot and.
Right. What's the right way to do it? Is like that, from the ground up for lower outlets, but then as the outlet got higher, then the ground was supposed to be. It was just set up to be the person you would contact if something came loose. So
yeah,
like a high up outlet for like a wall clock or something like you see in the school was supposed to be with the ground down.
Okay.
But my understanding is it's so common now that most people think it's upside down when they see that.
I rarely see it elsewhere. I rarely see it elsewhere. I mean, yes, in medical settings, it's like that.
Right.
Yeah, and the commercial usually has the little side thing that I don't know what it does other than signify it's a 20 amp outlet.
Yeah, I think a lot of times that I see, you have a room where they're all with the hot neutral on top, and then there'll be one that's with the ground on the top usually indicates an outlet that's switched.
That's right. That's the other thing. But that's like the odd duck in a room.
One, right. Just to make it easier to.
Yeah. No, I get that. But that's why smart outlets.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that.
I think that's just tradition. I don't think it's EDC code or.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's exactly. It's just to make it easier for these.
Yeah, it's kind of local practice, but again, I think almost all hospitals I've ever been in, it's up this way. To me, it makes sense there because you've got things that are draping across it, not paying attention, ... So,
Right.
All right, tips for wellness. All right, everybody's changing LED lights, okay? We all know that now the bulbs can cost less than $1. If you use dimmable types, you can adjust the light to fit your mood. And these, with appropriate dimmers, they can bring it down to near zero, which is great. Not to mention they last nearly forever, although my experience in a home, I've already had 3 lights that I've had to replace. But I think once you get past a certain time, they last. And they'll save money, but more so, you can get ones that change the color temperature, which helps with falling asleep, as I mentioned before, as well as seasonal affect disorder, where people have a hard time with the changes, especially this point in time, where the days, the duration of sunlight very rapidly changes over a period of time, and some people need to have the appropriate lighting for them. But again, the other thing is that to be able to have variable lighting for people who can't, it's like, can you see that menu in the restaurant? You probably can in your home, but you need to have appropriate lighting. So dealing with living in place clients, it usually takes a little bit more thoughtful, sort of compassionate relationship that you want to work with them. So you want to be empathetic and come up with solutions for them. So say this nice gentleman here, Jeff, is in a wheelchair. Me hovering over in a wheelchair isn't going to make him feel comfortable. It's more appropriate for me to get down to his level, whether on a chair or just on my knee, to be able to engage with him saying, what do you want to try to accomplish by me being here today? Okay, because I want to be able to help you make your home safer for you, more accessible where I can, and let's look at this from a comfort standpoint as well. Okay, so again, that's one of those sort of things. Like your regular customer, you don't ever think of that, but the people who have limitations that they wish they didn't, you need to be that person who's trying to engage with them in a different way. But this demographic, as I'm sure many of you know, values good service, that enhances their environment, okay? And at the same time, as I mentioned, you need to be respectful of their needs and finances. I mean, you may not necessarily want to get into like, a invisible disability that they may have. Because most people have some sort of invisible disability. I mean, it's one thing to be able to see somebody who's had an amputation, but something inside that doesn't give them, say they have, basically they had their part of their spine fused, you wouldn't be able to see that that was being done. And so you need to be a little, again, tactful on that. And in some cases, I recommend if you're going to be doing some serious work with the clients, is to find out if they're working with an occupational physical therapist. Because last I checked, I don't think any of you have a medical license. Well, I haven't checked, but I'm guessing pretty closely that none of you have a medical license. And so by prescribing something for them where they might want to have grab bars, or what type of grab bars they may need, or other things, if it doesn't work properly for them, who are they going to blame? Geez, Jeff, you did work for Mary over here. Tell me where you got your medical experience from. Oh, really? You didn't go to medical school? Well, what really made you think that you know what may be happening with Wanda? Do you know how this medical circumstance that she has may progress over time? Dear jury, let's just cut to the chase. We need a settlement here. You're being hung out to dry. So by having an OT or PT, as you're parting with them, because you ask them, it's like, are you working with somebody? Because I want to make certain I'm doing the right thing for you. I want to make certain that you have a nice long life, hopefully free of injury, other challenges that you may have, and it works for you. To me, that's the bottom line. Does the house work for you, or are you doing it the other way around? You're having to deal with the shortcomings of that house. So understand what you're selling. This is a key sort of thing than many of the conferences, seminars you're seeing here today. I sat in briefly on the keynote speaker or the opening morning speaker. He was talking about, so what? I don't know if anybody sat through his presentation. He was like, so what? So what? So what? So you help convince your clients that the knowledge you have, along with the designs and products that you're suggesting, that allows your clients to maintain, gain, and continue to have independence and dignity in the home. I mean, if you're welcome to take a photo of that if you want to, because it's kind of a powerful statement that this is what you're trying to do, even as just doing home inspection. Okay? You have that knowledge of the things that went into a home to begin with as to why you're saying this is not good. You're doing this in a little bit more tactful way here. So just going to recap. See, I don't even know how. Okay, gone for about an hour and 40 minutes here, which is longer than I thought I was going to be given, which is great because otherwise I was going to have to rush through it. And hopefully you've learned a few. When I go to conferences, seminars, I always try to walk out with at least one golden nugget. And so hopefully today I've given you just a couple, maybe more for some. Now, I will put up my little placard. We do have extensive training programs. It's called the Certified Living in Place Professional Program. It's all online. It's like 16 hours of time. We don't offer it as a CU because most of the trade associations that we used to work with, they wanted our presentations to be Switzerland. We couldn't talk about, here's this product that you could use. And so one of the things we found from people was that they wanted that information. Because when they go into a client's home, it's like, well, I know there's these anchors out there that, like Wingets, that you don't remember the name, there's these anchors that will hold up to, like 250 pounds in drywall. I mean, there's the beefy things. Anybody have ever seen the Winget devices? Okay, anybody else? Yeah, I mean, they're really wonderful devices. You have to be careful as to how close you are to a stud. If you're going to drill through a hole and there's, oh my gosh, there's a pipe there. That's why radar-based stud finders are a very helpful thing. But we do have this training. You can go, if you need my card, I've got cards with me. We cover the gamut from kitchen to bath to cabinets to countertops to garages to accessible areas and the like. But again, it's all online, all on demand. The program has been, I've been working with, we used to be working with Ashley for a long time until Mr. Kogan decided to depart from Ashley. But, all right, so I just want to recap what we went through today. Living in Place addresses the need for everyone, not just certain individuals. Again, from the crib, not cradle, because cradle kids aren't very mobile, but the crib to the party's over. Okay? Well, hopefully, all good parties have to come to an end. Unfortunate things can happen to anyone at any age. Some are short-term, some are permanent. Aging, getting older, less capable, more challenges that they have in their life, and knowing that there's a finite amount of time left for them. Using the term aging can be a turnoff for people. Living, a better connotation, at least to me. At least to me, it's a better connotation. Evokes ability, vitality, and longevity. And then there's that thing about crib until the party's over. So I'm not going to go for that again. It's the same thing. Okay? So we have some bonus time here. If you guys have any questions about designs, products, how to approach people, whatever, I'm here for you. I don't leave tonight until 6 o'clock.